If there is any justice in this world, then Todd Phillips will never ever work in entertainment ever again, as he just torched what could easily have been a very solid and very interesting, if it had been played very, very differently, billion-dollar franchise out of nothing more than sheer petty hatred of the audience it attracted, which Todd Phillips did not intend for the first movie to attract. We'll be talking a bit more about how this could have been great, because there was an opportunity here to really truly make not only a very interesting Joker, but a very, very cool Batman as well. But first, let's begin with the basics. Joker 2 is bombing at the box office. It is now official. This was of course predicted already, as the box office trends initially estimated that the Joker 1 might earn about $100 million on the opening weekend. That would put it on track to compete with its illustrious forebearer, but that's due to a large quantity of very, very negative feedback due to the original trailer having a lot of red warning lights, all of which proved to be correct, by the way, was estimated down to about $80 million before being downscaled again to about 60, and eventually ending at a rather conservative re-estimation of $50 million. Well, the movie failed to meet even that conservative estimation, as it earned just about $40 million in the United States over the opening weekend and $100 million internationally, meaning that it earned considerably less than half as much as Joker 1. Which is bringing into question whether or not the movie will even break even, as we do not know the budget of the Joker 2, but we do know that 1 was made on, by superhero standards, a shoestring budget of $55 million. That's the superhero equivalent of spit and gaffer tape in essence. And 2 had a significantly higher budget. Now, we usually know that movies like these tend to be around maybe 120, 30, 40, as much as 200, depending upon marketing. So it might be on track to break even, it might not, who knows. But the reason for its failure was, of course, not only that it was a bad movie, but that it specifically was a movie that shat on its audience. Joker Folie à Deux has a message for fans: go fuck yourselves. Yes. Absolutely, no doubt about it whatsoever. Todd Phillips was not particularly happy with the reception of his first movie, as Arthur Fleck was not supposed to become the character he did. Todd Phillips, I read an interview about him and his reaction to Joker 1 before the release of the second movie, where it came across as if he didn't understand why Arthur Fleck resonated so much with so many men today. Why this story about a downtrodden, oppressed individual repeatedly ignored and at worst actively persecuted by society at large would somehow become an avatar for the common man today. Why he would create a cult following. Why this victimized individual would find hundreds of thousands of men out there going, "Yep, I identify with this man." And that is why in the second movie, of course, not only do we do everything in our power to build the Joker down in masculinity, even having him be raped as just a final cherry on top in case there was any remaining male sympathy or identification with him, and taking all of the positive components of him, the chaos, the independence, the need to act out against the system, and transferring it on to Lady Gaga, Harley Quinn. Which I called this the moment we saw the first trailer. In fact, I think I was talking about this before the first trailer came out even, when they announced Lady Gaga. This was not going to be a Joker movie, it was going to be a Harley Quinn movie, and indeed it was, as the Joker is barely in it. Arthur Fleck takes over the Joker's role, whereas Harley is the one acting upon him every step of the way. She's initiating, she's manipulating him, she's the one talking to him, driving his actions and encouraging him. He has virtually no agency of his own beyond eventually surrendering and dying, which Leads me, of course, to this. Fan says Joker 2 ending was a betrayal, but was it actually its finest moment? No, it was not. See, here's the thing. We'll get to exactly why in a second, but what heartens me so much about the failure of this movie is that it proves that the audience has grown cautious about these things. No longer is a name enough to guarantee success. Even if you have a remarkably successful Joker 1 and then you make a Joker 2, there is no guarantee that your audience will blindly go to the cinemas like sheep on a second try. This was also wonderfully illustrated by Batman Caped Crusader. See, in my review of that show, not only did I point out that this was not a Batman show, it was a Barbara Gordon and Montoya show, but that I was also worried that the thin veneer of noir Batman would be just thick enough to fool the common audience into thinking that it was actually Batman. Nope, not at all. The common man has actually grown media literate enough to spot the fact that they're getting bum-fucked and not fought for it. Thank the heavens for that. As 5 to 10 years ago, I can pretty much guarantee you that the Joker would have been a financial success, even if it was a bad movie, because people would have gone to see it immediately. But the worst part is, of course, what we were robbed of here. So, what is this argument that its hated betrayal was its finest moment? So, at the end of the movie, as I'm sure you've heard by now, so I don't consider it too much of a spoiler, the Joker, Arthur Fleck, dies. He's killed by a fellow inmate. Arthur Fleck dies. Oh, don't do that. Arthur Fleck dies, a Joker dies, and why are you doing this now? And the Joker is born. Apparently, my mouse wishes to sabotage me. Very well. So, Arthur Fleck is stabbed after another guy, a psycho random inmate, goes like, "You get what you fucking deserve." And then he dies, the new inmate slits open his mouth and begins cackling maniacally. It's like, is this the best moment where you get a different Joker? No, not at the slightest. See, here's the thing. Arthur Fleck, although not being a comic book variant of the Joker at all, is actually a very good Joker. In fact, I would say that he's a superior one. See, the Joker, simply being a madman, works quite well. He works excellently as just a chaotic agent of madness and destruction. The comic book Joker is just that. The Joker in The Dark Knight, who is also pretty damn good, is also just that. An incarnation of madness that doesn't really require a reason for being there. He simply is chaos. That is fine. But this Joker had a reason for going crazy. He has a rationale, and a good one as well. Like, what do you mean? Of course I became the Joker. Listen to my story. This was the only way I could be seen. This was the only way I could break out of my mind-numbingly terrible life. I was victimized again and again, and only when I was mad. Only when I went insane and acted out my craziest revenge fantasies did society notice, did society care, did society rally around me. Arthur Fleck has every reason and motivation to become the Joker. And that is where the brilliance lies. See, one could make many arguments as to whether or not the Joker could ever have been a billion-dollar franchise, because, after all, to do that, you couldn't do this. You couldn't simply make another Joker 1 again, and you certainly couldn't make a Joker 2. You need Batman here, because without Batman, the Joker isn't really that good. You could potentially have a psychological horror-style thriller with Harley Quinn, where the Joker slowly begins corrupting her. If you had a very clever writer, the psychological deterioration and the wearing down of Harley Quinn from a respectable psychiatric individual to a crazed bitch, that could be fascinating. But in today's age, no, that would never be written. Not in a million years, and it would be very difficult to pull off as well. However, Batman. Now, we saw a young, I was about to say Clark Kent there for some moment, Bruce Wayne, in the first movie. Very young, in fact. probably around like, what, 6, 7, 8 years old, and Arthur Fleck is, older gentleman. I don't actually know his age, but to age a Batman to an appropriate age, you'd probably have to slap on like 12, 13 odd years, and you'd have a respectable young Batman there. You could easily do the same with Arthur Fleck, though, because the Joker is not a physical villain. He's not Bane. He's not trying to beat Batman up. He's not trying to wrestle him to the ground to do anything physical. He's a mad genius. He's the kind of guy that comes up with saw-like torture contraption and ways to screw over Gotham with ingenious mad plans and toys and bombs and gas and stuff. You can absolutely make that work with a 50 or 60-year-old Joker, no problem whatsoever. In fact, I think that might actually make him creepier. And then, have him play off Batman. See, here's the thing. Let's say that you have a young Batman who, after the murder of his parents, look at all of their philanthropic pursuits fall to dust. This is kind of what the new Batman movie tried to do, but in my opinion largely failed to do. A young, frustrated Batman looking at Gotham and going, this isn't working. All of my parents' efforts were for naught. Why should I care about Gotham? I want revenge. That's what I want. I will be vengeance. Have Batman be everything the leftist says he is, make him into the rich billionaire in a batsuit beating up the poor criminals. Do it. Do that full on out. Embrace it to the fullest. And then have him encounter the Joker. Have him defeat him, have him struggle against him, have him be his first actual opponent that he can't simply just punch and put into the ground. Have him outwit Batman. Make him begin to become the detective. Make him dig into his past, figuring out who he is and how he turned to be like this, and then have the realization, oh God, this is the problem. The Joker wasn't turned into the madman he is today because of some, chemical bath or insanity. He was broken by a system that doesn't work. A system that cannot be fixed by punching or kicking it or wrestling it or ramming it with a Batmobile. There is no violent cure for a system that doesn't function. You couldn't cure a young Arthur Fleck by beating him. You couldn't fix an Arthur Fleck by arresting him and throwing him in jail. Best case scenario, you get him killed, but beyond that, there will always be a crazy person pushed one step too far until they realize that the only way out is to embrace the madness. That would be an intriguing Batman. What then does Batman do? Well, surely he embraces the philanthropic pursuits of his parents. Surely he becomes more than just the Bat. Surely he then begins to understand, oh right, my moral compass isn't the Batman. Because that's one of the things I argued about at length in my We Need Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent More Than Read Batman and Superman video. Batman's moral compass is not Batman, because there is no reason why Batman would do anything but be the most horrible person he could conceivably be. There's no reason why Batman wouldn't be the Punisher on steroids. If Batman simply wants to fix crime via terror, by making himself into a symbol of vengeance, he should be Conrad Kurz. He should mount Arthur Fleck's corpse outside of Arkham on a breaking wheel. But he doesn't do this because he's motivated not by the Bat, but by his parents. Bruce Wayne is the moral compass within Batman. He is the reason why he doesn't kill. He's the reason why he doesn't like guns. He's the reason why he continues his philanthropic pursuits, etc., etc. Make that the origin story of Batman, along with now a more complex and nuanced Arthur Fleck. Maybe I'm high, but damn, could that not work? That could absolutely work, in my opinion. You'd have a 2-for-1. You'd have a much better Batman with way more Bruce Wayne than the current brooding versions we see, and you'll also get to have a brooding Batman to begin with, and you'll be able to create this symbiotic relationship. See, many of the most popular Batman and the Joker stories are when the two connect on a level. Like, was it The Killing Joke? When the two of them laugh at the end, realizing that the two of them have certain weird things in common. Or the idea that if the Joker ever actually managed to kill Batman, he'd probably be distraught and depressed, like, no, I didn't want to do that, etc. This connection is largely artificial in many of the media because they're enemies. But by doing something like this, you would have a reason to do it. You would be able to form Batman's no-kill idea, for example. You could even have a Batman that kills early on in the story, that when he notices what Arthur Fleck became and why, he realizes, I can't kill the criminals. I am supposed to be trying to cure this man. Again, as I said in the Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne video, Batman isn't trying to defeat the Joker. Batman is trying to save the Joker. God, and it infuriates me that we had this opportunity to create this, in my opinion at least, very interesting story. A far more, and here's the thing too, right? I remember when all of this Gamergate nonsense first started, where people were complaining about, comic books and video games are for children, we need more maturity, the medium needs to grow up, and okay, how do we grow it up? Ugly fat women. Okie dokie then. But there is actually a degree of maturity you could have in a story like this. That's why people liked the first Joker. It was a very interesting and deep movie with a lot of personality and psychology in it. People will absolutely watch that if you do it well, with a compelling character. And with Joaquin Phoenix performance, oh god, it was brilliant. You could absolutely have him come across as a very interesting victim, in essence, of Batman, and then begin to meld Batman around him. I think that would be a fascinating take on our caped crusader, and there might even then be an opportunity to explore the idea of, the Joker as more of a psychological disorder, a symptom of society's general collapse. You could go back to the whole idea that when one Joker dies, another Joker lives. You could do that. You could even have the possibility of fixing Arthur Fleck, only for another Joker to take his place, causing Batman to perhaps, stand vigil over his funeral and think to himself, Arthur Fleck wasn't the problem. Arthur Fleck was a symptom of the problem that I now need to go actually deal with. Oh, God. Again, maybe I'm just high, but I feel like this would have been a great story, and certainly it would have been a hell of a lot better one than Joker 2, which again, it was just a petty destruction of the character. That is all it was. It was Todd Phillips being upset that what the message he wanted to purvey were used in a different way, and a way that made far more sense as well, which is why he introduced Harley Quinn to become the new Joker, the new agent of chaos, piling all of the sympathy and the characteristic on her rather than the Joker. That's why he had the Joker raped in the shower to further demasculate him. It's why he had the Joker literally break down, collapse, and surrender in the courtroom instead of becoming the Joker. It's why he rewrote, in essence, the Joker's entire character at the end of the first movie to shoehorn in this far more emasculated, downgraded, and, ruined version of Arthur Fleck and the Joker. And the final ending of the Joker dying and being replaced by another one, I mean, it ties back to the initial little comic book sequence at the beginning of Joker 2, where the Joker is presented almost as Arthur Fleck's shadow, doing things outside of his control. This idea that the Joker isn't even Fleck, that it's simply some amorphous entity of evil and vileness that you should reject. Oh, God. It was a awful movie, but worse still is the fact that it probably robbed us of a truly interesting and just... I'm going in circles here, I'm going to wrap it up, but man, the things you could have done with this Joker and Batman, particularly in today's current year where society is indeed becoming a large problem for a lot of people, you could have the mirror of Arthur Fleck. Instead of going mad, you could get determined. You could have the choices between Batman or the Joker. But that would, of course, require a positive masculine character, and Todd Phillips was not interested in creating one of those. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for listening, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.